Hey there, and welcome to Go Far Girl, the podcast where women share the stories that changed them one journey at a time. I'm your host, Chantelle. I'm a travel writer and a lifelong wanderer, and I believe that every mile we travel brings us closer to the strongest, boldest, most authentic versions of ourselves. Each week, I'll sit down with incredible women to talk about the trips that shaped them, the lessons they learned along the way, and the power of going far in every sense of the word. So grab your coffee, your journal, or your carry-on, and let's dive in. Hey, welcome to Go Far Girl. Today, our special guest is me, Chantelle. So I wanted to just come on here today and talk about I know that in the introduction to the show, I did talk a little bit, but we've got new people and I didn't go into very great depth. And it's not something that I planned on talking about with you guys. It's not something that I plan on talking about with anybody, to be honest. But I have been talking to some people close to me lately, and they have all convinced me that this is a story that should be heard by other people. And it can maybe help someone else. So I don't want you to think that this whole podcast is about me, because it's about travel. It's about other women's success and sorrows and things. But I do want you to get to know me a little bit so that you know why we're doing this podcast in the first place and what sort of brought me to this point in my life. So I am going to do trigger warning that today we're going to talk about domestic violence. We're going to talk about sexual abuse and mental abuse. And if you don't want to listen, I totally get it. Everyone has to do what's best for them. But that's the warning. It's not going to get into detail. I'm not ready to share everything. I probably not will ever be ready to share everything. But I do want to share a little bit. So, that being said, welcome to Go Far Girl. And let's talk about how I became addicted to travel. So, I grew up in Northern California. And my parents had me when they were very young, like teenager young. And they were already divorced by the time I think I was 1 or 2, maybe 2. So by the time I was a toddler, they had both already remarried other people. I don't have any recollection of my parents being together at all, which is fine. I can't visualize them being together, honestly. They're both great, but not together for sure. And so quickly, I became a half sister to 3 other sisters with my mom and my stepdad, and then a brother and a sister with my dad and my stepmom. So I had to go to my dad sometimes, to my mom sometimes. I just remember when I would get ready to leave to go to my dad's, my sisters would cry and say, "Oh, I want to go too." And my mom would be like, "You don't want to go there. Like, it's too bad that she has to go," kind of thing. And so I would always feel like kind of icky. And I just wanted to go somewhere like exciting and not feel gross. And then when I got over there, I would just hear about all the things they had done while I wasn't there, vacations and new lives, that they just have this whole other life that really doesn't involve me. And, I just kind of felt like I never really fit in anywhere with either side of my family. And I just was really lonely as a kid. I was so lonely. Um, in one house, my family was very religious, and in the other house, there was no religion, and it was kind of chaotic. And so I didn't know where to fit in with that either, because I felt like I was somewhere in the middle, and I never felt at home anywhere I was. I didn't feel at home at church. I felt judged. I felt like everyone lived up to this perfect standard that I was never going to be. And I kind of didn't want to be, because I just didn't like it. Felt gross to me. But I felt like I was always being judged by that. And then when I went over to my other house, I felt like I wasn't like cool enough to be there. I guess what it boils down to is I just thought that everybody had their own separate lives. Like my dad had a family, my mom had a family, and I just sort of was there, and like no one really cared or wanted me there. But I was just like this problem that happened and now I have to be dealt with. I just remember never feeling like very close to anybody. So I used to dream of just getting away, and not like running away, but just like being somewhere else. I used to have these posters on my wall of like imaginary, like fairy tale type places, and I would just want to go there. I was just like, oh, what if I lived under this waterfall with this unicorn. I don't know. I was a kid. But it started me just daydreaming about always being somewhere else. No matter where I was, I did not want to be there. It didn't matter where I was or what I was doing. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be somewhere else. And then as I got older, I was in trouble all the time. All the time I was in trouble. I was grounded my whole life. I didn't even do anything bad. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't partying. I was not getting good grades. Um, but I just wasn't being that bad. But I was in trouble all the time. I couldn't talk on the phone. I couldn't go anywhere except for to church functions. I couldn't leave my room. And so I would just sit in my room and watch the outside go by without me. And I would like see people drive by with their boats. Oh, I wonder which lake they're going to. Oh, I wonder what they're doing. And I would sit and watch. We lived across the street from a baseball field. So I'd sit and watch baseball all day, which is, I guess, why I love baseball right now, because it feels like home to me. So I would just watch baseball all day during baseball season. And other than that, I would just watch the cars. And I remember thinking, I wonder where they're going. I wonder where they're going. I wonder if someone's happy to see them when they get there. I wonder if they'll meet new friends when they're there. Because I didn't really have any friends either. I mean, I had friends, quote unquote, but not friends because I could never go do anything. Who wants to have a friend that can't even talk to you or go anywhere? We didn't have our own phones then. We didn't have social media. I would have been grounded from it even if we did. But I didn't have all that. So I was really just isolated and lonely all the time. So I started dreaming of how the heck I was going to get out of there. And what I could do if I wasn't in this small town, in this bedroom all the time. And so I just started thinking, what can I do? What can I do? How can I get out? And so right when I graduated from high school, I moved down to Sacramento, and my mom helped me find like this travel agent course thing. It was like at nights and maybe like 3 months or 4 months or something. Um, but she had said she always wanted to be a travel agent because then she could go places. And so I was like, oh, go places? Sounds great. Let's do that. But what I didn't take into account is like my debilitating anxiety by this point. And at this point, also, there wasn't the computer I mean, there was a computer, but not like the way people use it now. So to get leads, to get clients, you really would have to be like in an office somewhere and making cold calls and greeting people when they come in the door. And just my anxiety was just too bad. I hadn't ever been around people enough to talk to them and to know how to hold a conversation and to know how to put myself out there. And all I knew is that my sisters were really smart and my other sister was really athletic and really pretty and everybody wanted to be around them. And so I was just always kind of judging myself by that. I just didn't feel like I was smart enough because obviously I didn't get good enough grades in high school because I was in trouble for them all the time. And obviously I didn't, make any of the sports teams that I wanted to or make the cheerleading squad or any of like I just never fit in with anything. And so I dropped out of that travel agent thing just a couple days before the final. I had been doing really well. I really enjoyed it. But what I didn't enjoy was the having to call people on the phone and talk to people. I could not get myself to do it. And I was sick all the time. So I quit that. That was another disappointment to everybody. At the time, I was dating someone who was in the Marine Corps and he lived in North Carolina. I was 19, 18. I think I was 18 because I graduated from high school on my 18th birthday. So it was definitely after that. But anyway, he invited me out to the Marine Corps ball in November to come and be part of that with him. And I really wanted to go. So I saved up a ton of money and went to a travel agency and booked my flight to North Carolina. And I flew across the country by myself. And I was like, this is cool. I remember just sitting on the plane and I was talking to people on the plane, which was unlike me. And I think it's because they didn't know me, so they weren't judging me. So I could really be whoever I wanted to be, do whatever I wanted to do, and they wouldn't know. And it was this cool story, right? Like, oh, I'm flying across the country to be with my Marine boyfriend and, whatever. But then I got there and we had a great couple weeks. It was super fun. Loved going to the ball, but there was a hurricane and I couldn't get out. So I stayed a little bit longer and then I flew back home. And when I got home, my mom was so mad. Like I didn't live with her or anything. I didn't even live in the same town. but she was super mad because I hadn't like asked permission or told her or something. So anyway, she took my car away. So then I was kind of trapped again. Um, the car was in her name, so that's lesson learned. But I was trapped again. And I remember having like that little taste of freedom and just thinking, man, I got to find a way to get the heck out of here again. Like, how can I go? How can I go? I was working at Burger King, and this guy would come through the drive through like every couple days, and he'd get the same order. And I would like recognize him by his voice when he came in. I was like, so one day I was like, you always get the same order and you're always here on the same, same days. He said, oh, I'm a flight attendant with Southwest. These are my like days when I just get back into Sacramento and then I head home. And I was like, ooh, flight attendant. So you get to travel all the time. And he's like, yeah, I get to travel all the time. It's so great. And I was like, sign me up for that. So I applied for that. Um, and then I ended up by having to move back to my hometown because I didn't have a car and I couldn't afford to get a car and to live and to do all this. Like I was working at Burger King, and I was thinking I'm making like $4.75 or something an hour, which is not livable. Um, even back in the old days. But yeah, so I came back home. One day I was at this concert and someone shouted my name, and I looked up. It was this guy that was I knew from high school, and I kind of had not really known him, but known him. He was super popular, one of the cool people, and I was like, "Whoa, he knows my name. That's cool." But anyway, we hung out that night at the concert, and then kind of just became inseparable. Like we did everything together just immediately, and I remember thinking it was so cool that someone like him would know who I am and want to hang out with me. So I got invited for a Southwest interview, but I didn't take it because I didn't want to miss out on this relationship. Oh, by the way, I had broken up with the Marine Corps guy by now. Because he got engaged to my cousin. Fun story. That's a whole nother one. Anyway, um, I forgot about that. I actually don't care. It's fine. He's a great guy. But yeah, so I had not taken the interview to the Southwest thing because I wanted to be with this guy. And kind of in the background, I had also been like looking at the military, and I had taken my ASVAB test and had been invited to go to the Air Force. And I thought that would be a good way to get out. But, he convinced me to stay. And so I did. And he would just show up to my work all the time with like flowers and candy and little notes on my windshield and just all the things. And he just really started in on like, you're everything to me. Like, no one's ever going to love you like this. Like, it just, looking back, it started really early, but I just didn't see it because I was stupid. I had no idea how to be successful in a relationship. I had like this one major boyfriend all through high school, well, on and off all through high school. And then that didn't work. And so then I was just kind of just love struck by this. And I loved all the attention. I loved the notes. I loved the silly nicknames. I loved the extravagant presents and all of the things. And so we quickly moved in together and everything was fine, except for that, again, looking back, it really wasn't because he was older than me. So he would go out to the bars all night and I would have to stay home. And he would sometimes not come home. And then I'd hear he was with somebody else, but then he would lie and I would believe him. And he would, he was the perpetual victim, right? Like everyone had it out for him. Everyone was lying to try to break us up. All the, just all the things, which of course he was cheating on me the whole time. It's whatever. Um, but I was stupid and I was 19 and I had nobody to talk to about these things. We didn't have social media. I couldn't like hear what other people's experiences were. I didn't know what a narcissist was, didn't know what love bombing was. I didn't know these things and I was really isolated. And then I got pregnant and had my first son. And then, of course, I was just with the baby all the time, which was great because at least at that point, I felt like I truly had a family and I felt like I had someone that would always be with me and love me for who I was. And that was my kid. Um, but I was bound and determined to not let him grow up in two separate families because I didn't want him to ever feel that pull like I did. So at that point, I kind of just gave up on travel. I gave up on everything except for being a mom. And I just really dove into that head first. And I will never regret that for an instant. I went on to have two more boys, so three boys total. Um, Literally the best things in my life to this day. Everything I love in this life is because of those boys. And so zero regrets. But I did give up kind of myself a little bit in that and just became who my husband wanted me to be. And the more people told me not to be with him, the more I dug in because I hadn't really been close to any of these people before. And now they were all of a sudden like, oh, he's bad. He's this. And then he would say, see, they just are trying to mess with you. They don't want you to be happy. They want to ruin us. They don't understand us. You're the only family I have. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, we're a team. We're a team. It's just me and you versus the world. And I was just so vulnerable to that kind of talk. And I was so vulnerable to wanting to be loved and appreciated that I was all in. But after our third baby, um, things really started to get worse to where he was more and more distant and out with other people and kind of had a whole life that I didn't have anything to do with. But by that time, he had isolated me even more from my family. So my sisters and my mom would all do things together, and my dad and my stepmom would go on vacations with my siblings and leave me home. Well, this was before I had kids, but it just kind of kept continuing that way. And so he would see that stuff and he would tell me, see, they don't love you. Like, see, they didn't even invite you to this thing. See, they didn't tell you they were doing this. Like, so it has to be me and you. It's just me and you. So I got very bitter and angry with my mom and my sisters and my dad and everybody. I was angry at everybody because I felt like they were slighting me and that they didn't care enough about me, but it fit in to what I already believed. And so that's why he was able to make it work so well, because I already had that in my head. And then he was just able to, keep driving it home. So even when he wouldn't come home from the bar for like 2 days and have all these stories and all this stuff that I knew wasn't true, I was like, well, at least he's here. I got somebody, I can't raise these kids by myself. And nobody else is sure as hell going to jump in and help me. And so I just toughed it out. Looking back, I think that he caused rifts between me and my family even more than was already there. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough. I was really, really lonely. I lived a block away from my mom and I never saw her. I was just really lonely. My sisters didn't talk to me. My dad didn't talk to me. And it got really, really lonely. And then it started to progress to where if I would leave the house, he would accuse me of cheating on him. Like, I would go get milk and he's like, that took a really long time. Like, who's your boyfriend? What is all this? Like, what were you doing? Like, I can't trust you. You're a whore. You're disgusting. I can't believe you. And so there'd be all these fights. So it got to the point where I wasn't able to leave the house without taking all the kids with me, like even to the grocery store, even to go get gas, like all the things. I just had to take everybody. Um, and it just kept getting worse, but so slowly that I don't think I realized it. And I was just slowly getting more and more lonely and more sad. And then it would start with um, started getting harder and harder to just do anything. We were fighting all the time. He was accusing me of cheating on him and plotting against him and all of these things all of the time. Um, and if like someone at the grocery store, say I was like checking out and the bagger would be like, how's your day? And I'd say, oh, it's great. Thank you. How was yours? Or whatever. Then we'd get in the car and he'd be like, do you have to flirt in front of me? Do you have to like rub your boyfriend in my face in front of me? Like, you're so terrible. Like, why would you do that? And I'd be like, what are you talking about? I was literally just being polite. And he's like, see that happy fake tone that you had with them, but now you don't have that fake happy tone. Like, you don't talk to me like that. Just all of these things, right? And so I felt like I could not do anything. And like literally the cashier would just be like, how's your day? And it would start like this 3-week war. And then he'd be like, no one would like talk to you if they weren't comfortable with you. Like nobody would like say hi to you the way he did if you guys weren't already in a relationship or something. And he was just rubbing it in my face. I remember one time we were at one of the boys' football games or practices actually. And the parents kind of were all sitting in lawn chairs watching the field. And one of the dads came up and like turned his chair towards the rest of us, like so he could talk. And apparently when he sat down, he like leaned down between his legs, put his hand, like his elbows on his knees and like leaned down. Well, apparently he was facing me when he did that. And so that meant that we were having an affair because nobody sits like that and nobody like points their legs at people like that unless they're like wanting to have sex. And I would be like, I literally don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I haven't. And he's like, of course you don't. You're such a prude. You're so terrible. Like, you only have sex with everybody but me. And I was like, you were sitting right there. Like, nothing. Like, I didn't even speak to this human being. But everything was a fight. Everything was a fight. And then what he started doing is when things really got fun is, I mean, I was depressed. I was crying all the time because I was freaking lonely and I was getting told I was stupid and I was getting told I was a whore and that I was disgusting and that I was getting fat and that, you know, just he was going to leave me too because I was so fat and so disgusting. Just all of these things. And I was a shitty mom and I was this and I was that. And my parents hated me and my friends hated me. And I embarrassed the boys everywhere we went and their friends didn't like me and their parents didn't like me. And he was the only person that liked me. And I should be so grateful that he liked me. But then what he would do is he would make me go to the doctor and he would sit in there with me. And the doctor would be like, why are you here? And I was like, I think I'm just really depressed. Like, I just need some help. I'm really depressed. And then he would pile on and he would tell this provider, like, I think she's bipolar. I think she's like, she blacks out sometimes. She doesn't know what she does. She like loses all this time. And then she just like comes back and she's just crying all the time. And I'm really scared she's going to hurt my kids, hurt herself. And I'd be like, hold up. I didn't do any of those things. And he's like, no, you do. You totally just black out and you're not yourself for like 2 days. And then you don't remember. It's like that whole time never existed to you. And I was like, that didn't happen. And then he would look at the provider and he'd be like, see, she doesn't even remember. It was so crazy. And he would do like weird shit, like come home and like turn the picture frames on the mantle upside down. And then he would say, hey, are you okay today? And I was like, of course. What's going on? I didn't leave the house today. Don't worry. You know, I didn't sleep with anyone today. And he would say, no, the pictures, they're all upside down. Like, did you do that? Or was your boyfriend sneaking in here to like cause trouble? And I'd be like, 1, I didn't do that. 2, I don't have a boyfriend. 3, what are you doing right now? I literally just watched you turn those upside down. And he'd be like, no, you didn't. That must be like your other person inside of you saying that because I didn't turn them upside down. I came home and they were upside down and I was really scared for you. And I was like, I just watched you turn them upside down. He said, no, you didn't. Shan, you've been doing this for days. Like, I'll just come home and there'll be like weird stuff out of place. Like, your underwear is missing from your drawer. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. Did your boyfriend take it? I don't have a boyfriend. Well, why are the pictures upside down? Because you turned them upside down. No, I didn't. And he's like, you did. He's like, why are the boys telling me you were like throwing knives at them last night? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, the boys were with my grandparents last night. And he's like, yeah, they had to escape over there because you were throwing knives. And I was like, nope. We planned this like 3 weeks ago. They're over there to just hang out with Nana and Papa. And he's like, no, I think you need to up your medicine. Have you taken your meds today? Have you taken your meds? Because this is crazy. And then he would like go outside and he'd come back hella mad. And I'd be like, what is the matter? He's like, your boyfriend keeps circling the house. And I was like, I don't have a boyfriend. And he'd be like, yes, you do. And he's spying on us. And is he just waiting for me to leave so he can sneak in here? You guys, this onslaught of freaking craziness went on for like 2 years. And it started to make me think I was crazy. Like, even though I knew I wasn't, but did I? Because what is happening? Like, I was so exhausted and so broke down. And my family wasn't talking to me. And he would say, that's why they're not talking to you, because you're crazy and you ruin every family occasion and they don't like you. They don't want you around because you cause so much trouble for them. But then they didn't call, right? They never called. So maybe he was right. And if I didn't remember doing all of these things, maybe I did them. I don't know. So he just kept upping my medication. And it was just like antidepressant. It wasn't like crazy, but he would just kept like making it more and more. And he would just, I think I should have you committed. So then he took my driver's license away and he took my keys away because I just couldn't be trusted. And it wasn't safe for me to be out and about on my own. So at that point, then I was completely just stuck in the house with the kids. And he would work out of town, but he would call and check in every night and every day and at random times during the day to make sure I was there. And then he would send his brother by. Sometimes his brother wouldn't even come in. He would just like sit in the driveway to like make sure like my boyfriend didn't come over. Um, like just all this crazy shit. It was just exhausting. And at that point, the sexual abuse really started getting worse. And you guys, at that time, I didn't know that you could be raped by your husband. I just thought that was marriage, I guess, which sounds pretty terrible. But I was not willingly ever intimate with him. And we got very violent and very controlling and very scary. And I would wake up in the middle of the night and he would just be attacking me. And I would come home from like a grocery store and he would attack me. And it would be because he wanted to make sure that I hadn't been with anyone else. So he just had to check and be sure. Or if I was going to leave the house, we would have to be intimate so that no one else would touch me while I was gone because they would know I was his. Things like, you're my wife, you're going to be with me like my wife, but way more vulgar. And so at that point, but then the whole time he'd be like, ugh, I can't even look at you. You're so disgusting. You're so gross. I hate you so much. Like, you're so filthy and disgusting. And so then I would just feel like I wasn't worth anything and my body wasn't worth anything. Like, it was just getting used, but it was disgusting. And I would kind of just go away in my head and I just wanted to die. He kept saying he was going to kill me. And I just would be like, please do, because it's really the best way out of all of this. I remember one day I was able to go to ice cream with my friend from high school, and we went and had ice cream, and I got home. So I don't know what time I left, but I know I got home before 8 p.m. because I had to be able to put the boys to bed. And I got home before 8, and he was in a rage. Where were you? What have you been doing? I said, I went to ice cream with Danielle. I told you this. And he's like, in the middle of the night. And I was like, it's 8 o'clock. He's like, you're out whoring around in the middle of the night while I'm trying to like explain to these poor kids why their mom abandoned them and why she left them to go be with her boyfriend. And I was like, I was with Danielle at ice cream. It's 8 o'clock and I'm already back. You can't be out in the middle of the night. That's not a good look for a wife. Like, you're such a whore. Like, I mean, and I remember that night was really bad. Like, I really paid for that ice cream in ways that I can't even fully comprehend still to this day. And so after that, I decided that I was going to file for divorce. And so I went down to the county and I got divorce papers. My great grandma was sick and she lived across town. So I said, I'm going to go stay with her and take care of her. I didn't tell him I was getting the divorce papers yet because I was scared, but I did go stay with her for a while, but he wouldn't let me take the kids. finally, I filed the divorce papers. I had him served, and he threatened to take the kids, to have me committed, to kill himself, which in hindsight, I don't know why I protested against that because that just would have been better for everybody. But I was like, no, don't do that. The boys need you and I still love you. I just don't want to be treated like this. And so then he'd be like, oh, I won't treat you like that anymore. And then we get back together and then we wouldn't. And it would just be this whole thing. Um, at some point, my sister and her husband really angered him, like really angered him. And he came home. And I should also say he was selling drugs at the time and growing drugs, but he was selling other drugs besides just weed. He was really selling hard drugs. So I would come home, sometimes there would be guns on the bed and cash everywhere and yucky people. And so I'd be like, I'm going back to my grandma's, like, and I'm taking the kids, like, they can't be around this. One day when I was up at the house, we had like bounty hunters surround the house and like banging on the door looking for somebody. Like, it was terrible. But he would always tell me, like, I know people, and if you get out of line, I'm gonna have them kill you for $5,000. Like, I know these people that will do this for $5,000. I'm gonna kill you. And then he would send me texts that he'd sent to people like, my wife's a whore, take her out, things like that. But anyway, back to my sister. So one day, um, and I don't remember what triggered this day. I know that he had been mad at them for a while, but they had two little girls. And one day I came home and there was a picture of my nieces playing in their front yard, um, on the table. And I was like, why do you have this? And he said, oh, I took it. And I said, why do you have this? And he said, I'm going to have them kidnapped. I said, why? He said, because their parents need to learn not to mess with me. And I'm done having them just think I'm some weak person that they can just mess with. They're messing with my business and I don't like them and I'm going to hurt them. And I said, oh, well, let's not do that. Like, those are my nieces and I love them. And he said, they don't love you. They're not even allowed to be around you. Like, their parents don't even love you. Like, what do you care what happens to them? Um, and I was so scared. And I went to the police and they came to the house and he basically just told them I was crazy. And he was such a talker and such a convincing person that they just treated me like I was like some crazy, like jealous, like estranged wife because I'd filed for divorce. And so he had said that I was just saying these things to take the kids and make it look like custody. And they did not believe me. And of course, couldn't find the picture, couldn't find the texts, didn't have the foresight to like record every conversation we ever had. And so I was scared. I was so scared. And he said, we need to get out of this town. And if you don't leave with me, I'm going to hurt everyone you've ever loved. And I am going to cause the biggest chaos in this town. And you need to come with me and we need to work on our family. And we need to start over where it's just me and you, because it's always just going to be me and you against the world. It's just me and you. And we have to leave this and we have to get out of here. And then he showed me the picture of the girls again. And so I said, okay, I'll go wherever you want to go. And 2 weeks later, we moved to Washington, where I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any family. He had his mom. He had a girlfriend up here. And I had nothing. But we moved, changed my phone number, changed everything, left everyone I ever knew, and moved to protect my family and to protect my people that I cared about. And once we got to Washington and I was isolated, things got so much worse than I could ever have imagined. And I need to take a break because I'm going to throw up. But come back next week and let's finish this up, okay? Thanks so much for listening to Go Far Girl. If this episode made you smile, dream a little bigger, or realize it's never too late to book the trip, I'd be so grateful if you'd share it with a friend. And hey, we've got an amazing group of women waiting for you inside our Facebook community. Just search Go Far Girl. Come on in and say hi. And until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and never stop going far.